A top free agent has reportedly turned down AEW. I'm going to show you guys the screen in just a second. Also, we have an update on Sasha Banks coming up in just a little bit. If you guys want more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe. Let's just jump into it. This is a really good story. So, Karrion Kross was speaking with the two-man Power Trip of Wrestling podcast, and shout out to Wrestling Inc. They have transcribed it, and this is some really cool stuff. So Karrion Kross, obviously, we know he was released by WWE. A lot of people were curious what the hell was happening with him, in terms of, where he was going to sign. Was it New Japan? Was it AAA? Was it AEW? There's always been rumors that he was connected to AEW, and none of that happened. So basically, nonetheless, we get this transcription again, thanks to Wrestling Inc. I like the guy Kross said of Khan. While Kross didn't go into specifics of the talks, he was pretty clear that a phone call occurred, saying that there's a lot of people who, upon getting that phone call, would have just taken his money, and maybe they're in a position where they absolutely have to. Kross went on to say that the idea he heard didn't sound like the best fit for the performer, saying he is going to be honest and will speak up when he feels that an idea would be better suited for somebody else. I'm not going to do that to him, Kross continued. I have too much respect for him and the place and my friends that work there just to take the money. Kross doesn't feel like it's fair to him or his fans to have him in any kind of placeholder role, and I know what I can do, and I'm not interested in doing anything less than my best work. All right. Now, what does this mean? Well, guys, I think it's really simple. Karrion Kross, first of all, this does two things. This says two things, and I think a lot of people need to understand what's happening here. One, this says that AEW and WWE are not the only places in wrestling that are a destination, which is awesome. That means the wrestling industry is healthy. That means guys like Karrion Kross who get released by WWE don't have to go to AEW. They can go to any company and make a living off of what they enjoy doing, which is awesome. But secondly, this tells me that AEW is showing people that within their television, yes, it's a great television deal, and yes, they have a good product, but they're showing talent that sometimes it's not always better in AEW, right? And I think the way to really understand this is by looking at Karrion Kross, whether you like him or hate him. I think a lot of people agree he was a missed opportunity in WWE. His NXT run compared to the main roster run showed us that WWE didn't necessarily know what the hell they were doing. And I think AEW has shown us time and time again, yes, they can have surprises. Yes, they can debut new talent. But what are they really doing with them? And that's a real criticism. That is not me talking shit. That is me truly criticizing AEW. For as good as they are, their biggest flaw is that they've signed people, they start and stop pushes, things like that. Now, what I would say too here is that Karrion Kross, Killer Kross, is a great talent, right? And I know there was rumors of him possibly going to ROH when the time was right and whatever it may be. But here's what I would say with Killer Kross. Killer Kross needs to be in a situation where he is presented differently than the traditional pro wrestler in AEW. Killer Kross, if you've ever seen his vignettes and stuff like that he's put on social media, I think a lot of people realize that Killer Kross is very much a character. And AEW doesn't necessarily focus on that. Now, by the way, I would love to see Killer Kross in AEW because I want to see Killer Kross and Jon Moxley in a match in AEW for a world championship. But right now, it doesn't make sense. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing for AEW. It's not a bad thing for Killer Kross. It's good for Killer Kross that he can go do whatever he wants. New Japan, he can go do New Japan and AAA and Indies. That's awesome. But it's also telling that AEW doesn't need to sign everybody. You know what I mean? And I don't look at this as a loss for either party. I think Tony Khan was probably going to bring in Killer Kross just as another veteran, which is very possible. Another big guy veteran. I also think a lot of times there's been, because of Wardlow and how he handled Lance Archer and W. Morrissey, I feel like that's kind of how Tony Khan views certain talent, just a really good talent that can enhance others. And I don't know. I thought it was odd, but look, here's the good thing. AEW doesn't need Killer Kross, which tells you AEW is doing good. Killer Kross doesn't need AEW, which tells you that the wrestling industry as a whole is doing very well. And the cool thing is, he seems to be pretty respectful about this whole thing. So if he chooses not to stay, in AEW right now, he chooses not to go there, that's completely fine. The cool thing is, maybe Tony Khan has something in mind later on that he can pitch Killer Kross, and there you go. They can make something happen. All right, guys, I want to turn our attention to Sasha Banks. For those who are unaware of this story, this is absolutely crazy, mind-boggling. I dropped a video last night at like midnight. There was some breaking news from Raj Giri, the owner of Wrestling Inc. And guys, this was like a really crazy thing. So basically, he heard that Sasha Banks was released. And, you know, I seen a lot of people's comments and stuff like that. It's a report. And as you know, I cover all wrestling and I cover all of the stories. And I'm always giving you guys my opinions on the stories that are out there. Now, with that being said, there has not been a confirmation from WWE that Sasha Banks has been released. They're also not denying it either, which is pretty interesting. Now, what was really, really interesting is that Andrew Zarian earlier today actually mentioned on the Mat Men podcast that he cannot confirm whether or not Sasha Banks was released, but he did hear last week that her attorneys were working on getting this done. Wow. So here's the thing. For those who didn't watch the last video, for those who are not aware of what is happening here, Sasha Banks was reportedly released. WWE Talent Relations, according to Fightful Select, Talent Relations did not know about it. Nobody in WWE knew about it. They weren't denying it, but they weren't confirming it. Now, Andrew Zarian from the Mat Men podcast can't confirm whether or not she's been released, but to hear that her attorneys were working on this, how is that all possible? Now, for those who are unaware, Sasha Banks was essentially suspended without pay due to walking out on the show. Was she released or was she not? Was she released because WWE chose to release her? Was she released because her lawyers got her released? Or is she stuck with the company? This also poses another question. What is happening with Naomi? Because nobody knows at all what is happening with Naomi. Nobody is talking about Naomi. Nobody is mentioning Naomi being released or anything like that. So what is actually going on here? It's crazy. The wrestling news this week has by far been the most insane news. Not to mention WWE, AEW, both of them got a lot of stuff happening. It is unbelievable, and we're just halfway into the month. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. As always, I'm going to keep you guys updated. Again, I appreciate you guys sticking around. If you guys want more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe. And don't forget to check out the Discord link, twitch.tv link, social media, Twitter, all that good stuff in the description. I'll see you guys next time.